Hi and welcome to Pet Pals. Every week we showcase animals that are available for adoption from the Frederick County Division of Animal Control and Pet Adoption Center. I'm Linda Shea, with me is Randy Cooper, and today you're going to see some familiar faces. It is now February. As we get closer to what we call kitten season, we like to showcase some of the animals that have been here for quite a while. So the first girl we're going to take a look at is Helga. She's been on Pet Pals before. She has also been in our shelter for about a month now. Helga is about 8 to 9 years old, and she is wonderful. If you've ever owned a cat in your life, you understand that as they get to be 8 or 9 years old, their personalities are established, their health is established, they can learn to respond to their name by that age, typically around 8 years old, and they just have a lot of social manners if they've been with a family. And Helga is certainly exemplary of all of those things. She came to us originally as a stray. Folks found her in Jefferson. They called in a found report. They kept her for about 3.5 weeks, and we were unable to make a match with her original owner, so they were no longer able to keep her, and they brought her here. But they did try to find her original owner. But she's here with us now, available for adoption. Again, about 8 to 9 years old. She is already spayed prior to leaving here. She will be microchipped, and she's front declawed. It's something that we don't advocate, but she came to the shelter already front declawed. So if you're looking for a mature cat that's front declawed, Helga would be a good choice. This little girl is Cammie. She might be also a familiar face on Pet Pals. She's been at the shelter also about a month. She's about 4 to 5 months old, a beautiful tortoiseshell. She came in with her sister Vicky. Both of them came in as strays from Waterford Drive. So if you are missing cats from that area, you want to make sure that you check the shelter. We're the one and only shelter in Frederick County. So often people can't understand how their cats from Emmitsburg or Thurmont or Brunswick end up in Frederick City. But oftentimes officers will respond to nuisance complaints. Citizens will find stray animals and bring them here, hoping that their owner will come here to reclaim them. So that's our hope as well. But in the meantime, Cammie is here, available for adoption. She's about 4 to 5 months old, and I say that again because in about a month or so we're going to start seeing underage kittens, newborn kittens, and these guys will sometimes get bypassed because they're not quite as young as the new kittens that are coming in. But they've got great temperaments, great personalities, they are healthy, they're social, and they are on our adoption floor. And having been here for a month at the shelter, we think that they are deserving of a forever home. The shelter is not a forever home. The shelter is just a temporary place where we can house animals to hopefully find them good adopters. So Cammie is just one of many of our younger juvenile cats on the adoption floor looking for a forever home. This little girl is Vicky. She is Cammie's, I'm not sure if she's a sibling or not. They came from the same place at the same time, so in all likelihood they're litter mates. She is also about 4 to 5 months old from Waterford Drive in Frederick. And when you look at our cats on the adoption floor, sometimes often we'll ask you to look at the medical first. What that will do is give you an idea of any medical procedures, treatments, diagnostics that we've done on an animal. So in the case of Vicky, she's very typical of cats on our adoption floor. We test them for feline leukemia and feline immunodeficiency virus. We also provide preventative vaccines and deworming. So that's just the normal protocol prior to placing on the adoption floor for cats. The other thing that we'll do, if they're going to have heavy interaction, if they're housed in our kitty cabana, we will go ahead and rabies vaccinate them. And at the point of 4 months of age, we do our best to try to get all of our dogs and cats and ferrets vaccinated by that point, as required by state. But Vicky is, again, one of the many cats that's available for adoption. She's been here about a month. She's got a very thick coat, so we're not sure if that's just her normal coat or if it's just her winter coat that's grown in. But Vicky is very sweet, affectionate, and again, deserving of a forever home.
You being bashful.
This pretty girl is Erin. Erin came to us as a stray from Brunswick, and on her ticket, the person that brought her to us said that she was a neighborhood cat. So that becomes a challenge when there are groups of cats in neighborhoods and there's no one particular person taking care of them. There is a running at large ordinance in Frederick County that applies to all domestic animals. If you have cat, dog that you allow to run at large, that's a violation of that ordinance. So sometimes we'll get dogs or cats that are just allowed to run loose through a neighborhood, and that's when they become a nuisance, then they end up here oftentimes. But Aaron is just one example of what happens to animals like that. When they brought to the shelter, we do evaluate them. We don't just assume that because they are running at large that they won't make good pets. Erin will make somebody a wonderful pet. She's been here since about the 3rd week in January. Came in without a history because, again, as a neighborhood pet, we're not sure if she had any vaccines, deworming, if she was already spayed or not. We've done an exam. She's about 4 to 6 years old. We did determine that she is already spayed, so that's a good thing. We've gone ahead and updated her on vaccines, on deworming. We've tested her, and she's tested negative for feline leukemia, feline immunodeficiency virus, and she is an overall very well-tempered cat. Now, coming in without a history of vaccines that we're aware of, it's not uncommon that she had developed an upper respiratory infection. It's pretty common in cats, especially if they don't have any protection, coming into a shelter population that is full of an unknown quantity and an unknown background on many of the animals. She did develop a kitty cold, but as you can see, she's resolved that. We went ahead and provided treatment for that, and she is now available for adoption. She's very solid at a little over 8 pounds, so if you're looking for an adult, she qualifies for an adoption incentive discount, $20 off her adoption fee, and we will make sure that she's current on vaccines and microchipped prior to leaving. So this is Stanley. If you're wondering, Stanley is one of the larger cats on our adoption floor. He's about 14.5 pounds. And as much as he's wriggling and kind of challenging Randy at the moment, he is actually my favorite cat on the adoption floor. He is one that will come up to the front of the cage, very interested in people. He likes it best if you kind of introduce yourself slowly, maybe open the cage door, give him a chance to get to know you. He does headbutts and rubs, and he's just very affectionate. The reason he was turned into the shelter is exactly for that reason, being too affectionate. The grandchild in the family apparently developed allergies. Stanley had been relegated to the basement, which is not inappropriate if you've got a person with allergies in your home and you need to just divide up the house and the pets get one portion of it and another portion is pet-free. That is perfectly acceptable, and we encourage that. And the family had gained counseling prior to relinquishing Stanley to consider just doing exactly that, and they chose to not want to do that. So Stanley's here now, but he is about 6 years old, again, very affectionate. Sometimes they're a little camera shy, so being on TV or radio doesn't show their best side. So if you want to interact with Stanley, I certainly encourage you to come into the shelter and just see that side of him that we've seen that I'm describing. He's overall very healthy, just large. I would probably cut back on his food, measure it a little bit better, feed him twice a day, and certainly have him just having access to a home where he can exercise and move around will do wonders for his figure. But he's a great cat, so again, Stanley, certainly my favorite, one of our shelter volunteer and staff favorites, looking for a forever family. We're going to go ahead and take a short break. When we come back, we're going to take a look at some of our exotic pets that are here at the shelter looking for forever homes.
Help protect the environment and prevent prescription drug misuse by disposing of all your expired and unwanted household medications and prescription drugs safely. The Frederick County Health Department has teamed up with local law enforcement to provide 6 convenient drop-off sites for unwanted medication within the county. Locations include the Frederick Police Department, the Thurmont Police Department, the Frederick County Law Enforcement Center, the Brunswick Police Department, the Middletown Municipal Center, and the 2nd floor of the Emmitsburg Community Center.
Hi, I'm Tracy, and this is Catherine. We are Frederick County 911 dispatchers, and we're here to tell you what to expect when dialing 911.
We're on the line to listen, and we also have important instructions to give you. Your 911 operator needs to get essential information from you as quickly as possible by asking the following questions in this order.
What is the address of the emergency so we can send the right help to the right location? What is the phone number you're calling from? If the line disconnects, we may need to call you back. What is your name so we can address you properly? And tell me exactly what happened. Asking these questions allows operators to start dispatch to emergencies quickly.
Your 911 operator is often working closely with one or more dispatchers, obtaining important information which is relayed to responders who are on the way to your location while you are still on the phone.
This process is repeated on each call to ensure responders get to each emergency as quickly and safely as possible with the right information to provide the best service they can.
Law enforcement, fire and rescue, and other responders rely on 911 operators and dispatchers to obtain specific information that varies with each type of call. Sometimes it may seem as though your 911 operator is asking a series of unnecessary questions, but in fact this information is vital for getting the right help sent to the right place. Often, help is already on the way while your 911 operator is talking to you.
While emergency crews are responding, dispatchers continue to provide them with updated information gathered by your 911 operator.
Also, your 911 operator may be able to provide you with important life-saving direction, from how to safely exit a building on fire to CPR instruction, providing important information for staying safe and out of danger during a vehicle accident, as well as helping a caller deliver a baby.
For more information, visit frederickcountymd.gov/911 or call the non-emergency number at 301-600-1603.
Welcome back to Pet Pals. Now we're going to take a look at some of our exotics at the shelter. Frederick County Division of Animal Control is open admission, so at any given time we not only have dogs and cats, but we often have other pets that folks can't keep, don't want, or we find stray. So these two are Eden and Happy. Happy is the longer haired one that's closer to Randy, and Eden is the one that's a little farther away. These girls are about 3 years old, and they're bonded, meaning that they must be adopted together. Bunnies are prey animals, and oftentimes prey animals will find a friend or a couple of friends that they're very comfortable with. It just lends to a longer lifespan, a happier life, comfortable life. They can kind of relieve each other's anxiety. They communicate in a whole different way among species. So these two girls must be adopted together. And a lot of times if you've had bunnies or pets in your life where you have more than one and they are friends with each other, you know the benefit of just the socialization that they gain from one another. And it's just like having a friend, and if you're at work, if you've got a busy lifestyle, they can keep each other company. What we're exhibiting here is just a temporary pen just for the purpose of Pet Pals, but bunnies need enrichment in their housing. They need boxes to hide in, they need things to chew on, they can climb on little telephone books. We can offer a whole list of items that are suggested for bunny housing unit enrichment. And they also need different textures to walk on. So you want to make sure that you have some out of the cage time for them to spend kind of walking around, kind of exploring in a safe environment. You want to make sure that you eliminate any, or at least supervise any electric wires that they might come in contact with. You want to make sure that they don't have access to those. They'll chew right through them. You want to make sure that they don't have access to anything that's valuable. They can be very strong in what they chew on, so don't let their little furriness kind of be deceptive. But these girls, again, are social, friendly, healthy. They, like any pet, they'll need a vet exam at least once a year, nose to tail, just to make sure that everything's working properly. One of the best resources to go to for bunny information is the House Rabbit Society website. They have information on what bunnies eat, proper housing, how to set them up, health issues and requirements, and again, just a wealth of knowledge. So I encourage you that if you're not familiar with bunnies, if you're considering adopting bunnies, that you go to that website. In addition, you want to maybe check these guys out. You want to come to the shelter, visit with them, and ask our staff and volunteers for more information. But again, this is Happy and Eden. They are a bonded pair of bunnies, must be adopted together, that we are looking to place. So when we say that we are open admission at Frederick County Division of Animal Control, this is just one example of what we mean. We take in any species that needs us from within Frederick County, domestic animals, and this is one of 4 chinchilla that were turned in about a week ago. The reason they were turned in, the owner had them for about a year, and then they then decided that they were just too much responsibility to care for. So chinchilla, if you're not familiar with them, you really do need to do some research on their lifespan, on their needs. They are another example of a prey animal, so they need to be kept safe, especially if you have larger animals. If you've got dogs or cats in your life, you want to make sure that they're in a housing unit that protects them. You want to make sure that they remain socialized. As a prey animal, they can be a little skittish with handling, and you want to make sure that when you do handle them, that you offer them some security so they don't feel like they're just dangling out there when you pick them up. But this little girl is just one of 3 girls. We've got 3 girls, 1 boy, Bruno, that we'll be taking a look at. And the girls tend to be a little more social, a little more outgoing and friendly. But again, you need to make sure that they are maintained safely. They also need enrichment in their housing units. They're not a pet that you can just put into an aquarium, a box, a cage, and just let be. You need to offer stimulation, so different textures to walk on, boxes to hide in. They also need to help maintain their coat, a dust bath. And a lot of times chinchillas can get frustrating for folks because they can make a mess. So you want to make sure that you are equipped to clean up after them, to just make sure that their housing area stays neat and clean. And again, just the handling part is pretty important. You don't want to force yourself as far as handling them, but you want to make sure that you access them, that you talk to them every day, that you have a gentle way when you're holding them, and that you offer that security. So again, this is just one of 4 chinchilla that we have. I would recommend highly that you go to Small Angels Rescue website. They have a good fact sheet on chinchilla. And again, if you're interested in adopting, we do have an adoption interview. It's an educational interview. And if you've got chinchilla experience, that would be ideal and preferred if you're thinking about adopting. This handsome guy is Bruno. He is one of 4 chinchilla that we have, and he's the only male that we have. So you can tell he's a little more active. He's a little larger than the girls are, and just a little more inquisitive. So again, chinchilla are what we consider exotics. They're not your typical family pet. They do require just special care. They need to be vetted at least once a year, nose to tail, just to make sure that everything is working properly and that they're in good health. With these guys, they've never been vetted in the time that the owner brought them to us. So you want to make sure that, that you do incorporate vet care into the routine of any animal that you might take into your family. There's nothing worse than having a sick animal for a length of time, and if you're not noticing something that's wrong, you get them to the vet, and then it's beyond something that could have been treated early on. So again, vet care, sometimes folks complain that it can be expensive, but it really is an investment. It's not an expense. If you think of it as a preventative investment in your pet's life, in your pet's health, I think that's the better way to look at it. Animals are deserving of vet care. They need to be examined, again, at least once a year, just to make sure that things are in working order, and to have a conversation with a professional veterinarian that can offer you advice on socialization, on behavior, on nutrition, on anything additional, supplements that they might need, and then again to just prevent any things that might happen as your pets get to be seniors. You want to make sure that they are as comfortable as they can be as they get to be older, as they might begin to get a little less active. So again, you want to take that into consideration. But this is Bruno, again, one of many exotics that we have here now at the shelter. I highly recommend you do some research, ask some questions prior to considering adoption. This little girl is Delilah, and yes, I agree, she is adorable. She is a Russian dwarf hamster, so she's tiny, about 2 years old, and she was turned in. I guess the family was moving and could not take her along, and she came in with her sister Lila. So we have Lila and Delilah here that are looking for forever homes. The girls lived together in the home that they came from. When they came to the shelter, which is not unusual, probably due to stress, they couldn't cohabitate nicely, so they're in separate cages at the moment. But our preference is that they would be adopted together, but we're not mandating that. Hamsters make good little pets. One thing you have to realize if you're a parent, they don't make good little pets for small little children. If you're going to incorporate a hamster into your home, you want to make sure that you, mom or dad, are the primary caregiver. They are very small. They can be easily hurt or damaged, so you want to make sure that you're supervising whenever your children are interacting with small pets, especially a small little pet like Delilah. Hamsters are very entertaining. These little girls came from a home, the housing unit that they were in was 2 stories. They had a slide, they had some boxes, and again, hamsters, just like any other species, they need enrichment. So boxes to hide in, things to chew on, little paper towel rolls with the paper towels once they're emptied, so that they can hide in. They like to burrow. One of the products that we use here at the shelter for bedding, it's called Carefresh. It's just kind of shredded cardboard newspaper kind of component. So it's somewhat dusty, but less dusty than some of the products out there. So we do a layer of newspaper, a layer of Carefresh, and then we offer them housing enrichment. But again, this is Delilah. We've got a minimal adoption fee for our rodent family. And if you're considering a hamster, if you've never had one before, again, I'm going to send you to the smallangelsrescue.org website. They have incorporated wonderful fact sheets and care sheets, and they've got all things hamster that you would need prior to considering adoption. You really want to be prepared. Even though hamsters may seem to be small and easy to care for, they need just as much socialization as dogs or cats. They also require special diet. They need quality pellets so that they can stay healthy, and that's up to you to make sure that that happens. So again, that research beforehand will ultimately lead you to a good pet parent. So that wraps it up for this week's Pet Pals. This morning, of course, we had a variety of animals as an open admission shelter. Once again, we take in species from Frederick County, domestic species of a variety. So we've got our rodents, we've got our chinchilla, bunnies, and of course our dogs and cats. Thanks for joining us. Have a great week, and we will see you next time on Pet Pals.